Hi Nita and Elaine. We are making your assembly video now. So we're just getting your bottom two legs, which your bottom shelf's going to go on. They're just going to be stood in position. And this is Kez and Alex just dropping it down. So we'll send those parts assembled like that. It's just going to the wall. So they're already set up, so they're nice and level. But we will be sending spacers as well. Now, what Alex is doing here, he's just attaching this fitting onto the pipe, but he's left space in the hole for the other pipe to go on. So the pipe, so this pipe here just meets the pipe that goes all the way across. There we go. And then he's going to fit that to the wall. Kez is doing the same on this side. Just resting it down on the vertical. Now we've already actually drilled the hole in the wall because we've already had this system assembled and secured. But what you would do is mark it all up, take it away, drill your holes, and then get the right fittings for whatever your wall is. If it's a masonry wall, you'll use roll plugs and screws. If it's a plasterboard wall, you'll use plasterboard fittings or fixings. So that's all there. So we've already fitted this, but in order for you to do it, you'd put the shelf on first, mark it all up, and then do the same as you've just done over here. But that's all set at the right height for you. So next is your desktop. Just rest in place. So it would be at this point that you'd get the position of your leg correct. Mark it up. Now the vertical steels are going in. They're just fitting into these four-way crosses under here. Just get everything lined up and drop them in. See, Alex has done that at that end. Kez is just doing it here. Needs a little wriggle. Push it right through so it meets with the horizontal pipe. Just going back to the wall. Tighten it up really nice and tight. We'll be sending a couple of Allen keys with Gary, our courier, for you. So don't worry, they look a little bit wonky at the moment, but once they get all the shelves on, that'll pull them up, pull them nice and vertical. The third one going in, same job he's doing there, just tightening it up. Because it's secured to the wall at the bottom, it's going to be nice and safe. And then Alex is just getting her arms ready. So we tend to keep everything symmetrical where possible. So you've got your grub screws, and we tend to face those in pairs, facing towards one another, like that. But it's totally up to you. You could have them all facing left or right, or facing out and then in, but this is how we've done them, and so this is how they've been set up. If you're super tall, like Kez, you don't need ladders. But I would definitely need ladders. So they go over. And they just slide all the way down. extra one there. There we go. And then the spaces come into play. So these will come with you. They've got writing on to show you what height they are. And you just let the shelf sit on them, rest on them, and then you bring the fittings up to meet the pipe in the position and then tighten them up. So that automatically gives you the correct height, and that shelf will be level. You don't even need to get a spirit level out. And then tighten up the grub screws. They bite into the pipe, hold the fitting in place. The shelves might be a bit sort of warped. That's one of the characteristics of the scaffolding board. So if that's the case, just pull it down if it wants to spring up, and over time it will settle. Obviously this is your drawing that you will have to hand when the time comes. Nice long shelf. Best to get ladders out of this so you've got a lot of control. You just need to wriggle the pipe over the holes, and even an additional pair of hands could be good at this point. I'm trying to video and move this at the same time. There we go. And it's important to keep the board pretty flat when you're pulling it down. If you go too far, if you're quicker on one side than you are on the other, they'll stick. Because there's only so much tolerance in the size of the holes. So there they are. They're using the spacers again. These are obviously the spaces that we've sort of pre-agreed, but of course these can be adjusted as and when you like. Just loosen off the grub screw with your Allen key, and they can be changed any time. But again, as long as you use these spacers and you make contact with the shelf and then put the fittings up to meet the shelf, you won't need a spirit level. Now, every house is a bit weird, so you might find that your floors are a bit out, or your ceilings are a bit out, or your walls are a bit out. So even though this has been made so everything is in the right place and everything is level, it might be that when you're finished it might look weird because your floor's weird or your ceiling's weird, and in that case we just advise that you just do it by eye, and what feels right, what you feel looks right is the best way to be. If you're going to be looking at your floor in relation to that bottom shelf there, you might think, right, well, I'll make it a bit slanty so it looks right. Anyway, I'm banging on about these slopey floors. You probably haven't even got slopey floors, so I'll shut up. There we are again, getting the fittings ready. So you can see there's fittings being laid out for the middle pipe that's not there yet. But we will get, that does need to go on pretty soon because, in your case, because you've not got the ceiling height, we've got loads of ceiling height, so we can add that pole any time. But you probably want to add it sort of within the first, once that first shelf goes on. You can just, it's just going to drop through that hole on the desktop. We'll just tighten it up just to keep it secure and in place, and we can worry about the bottom at the end. Second to the last shelf. Spaces again. We didn't even need to use the spacers on these middle two, because obviously if the outer two are correct, then the middle two are automatically correct. Then it's going to be the last fittings going on. Little arms. Finally, the last shelf. Obviously you know which is the front and which is the back of your shelves, because your fronts have the rounded corners, like that, and then obviously the right hand side has the square corners that's going to the wall. Spaces in use again. And then these are the tops with the round wall fittings on. And we use the same symmetry with the grub screws for these as we did with the arms. Hello again. Right, we've moved over to phone filming now because the iPad just ran out of storage, so sorry for this little blip. Yeah, I think I was saying that the guys are fitting the top ones now. Now, this second one here, we just fitted it into place by tightening one of the screws, but we are just going to loosen that back off, and we're going to add this to it now. It's probably the last thing that we'll sort of screw to the wall, but it's worth just letting it go. So this pipe has been held into place by that fitting. And you can see it's not peeking out the bottom yet, but it needs to peek out the bottom because it needs to drop into that elbow there. So we're just going to do that so it does just that, and it's in line with these other two wall fittings. So just put that on now. That'll all be nice and tight when it gets to anyway. So we're pushing that all the way on so it makes contact with the pipe running through as everything else did. And obviously the pipes have been cut exactly to the right length, so that once that happens, it's everything's in the right place. So now that can be loosened off. That then meets that as it should. Does that need to go
up a bit?
Well, it'll put that'll just pull up. Are you loosening or?
I'm putting those in place. Then I'll fix the top one.
Ah.
Once the top one's fixed, I can put this one in place because this one is holding this. Yeah.
Right, but that needs to go up a little bit more still. That bottom one, I think. Well, it doesn't. It's in the right place. It's just that that needs to pull up, doesn't it?
There you go.
So I think probably if Kez steps in at this point, oopsie, and pulls up.
Yes.
So Kez is pushing that there.
Yep.
And then that's holding it in place for now. And then that will go up to meet this one in the end.
It's the last one you want to move.
Just whilst we tighten those up. Everything. I've just got that one last one to do. Okay, so that's now fitted to the wall, so that's not going to go anywhere. So that this final one can now be brought up. It's not needing to be the anchor anymore. So lovely. And there we have it. You just need to pop your drawer underneath, and then that's your unit, all beautifully built. Ta-da! Thanks so much.